Hi, I'm Ruth Shapira, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to this podcast by Inner Judaism, where you can experience the spiritual beauty of Judaism and the meaning it has for your own life. In this episode, we'll explore the character trait known in Hebrew as Gevurah, which means strength. We'll learn the deeper spiritual meaning of the word and what it means for your life. I'll explain this a bit more, but first find a comfortable place to sit where you won't be interrupted. And please turn off or tune out other distractions. And how about you turn on the portion of your brain that's open to new ideas and new ways of thinking? Let's make sure we're in the present moment by just noticing our breath. On the inhale and exhale, just notice your chest rising and falling. And relax into this beautiful rhythm of your breath. And do this a few more times. Ready? Let's begin. Gevurah is often translated as strength or might, but in spiritual language, it's actually focused on your inner strength rather than your physical capabilities. In other words, it's not about outward power at all, but being in touch with your true self. Gevurah is the attribute that allows you to cultivate resilience within yourself and self-discipline when you're faced with challenges. This means finding the balance between being firm yet flexible, which we can all use during these times of stress, anxiety, and challenge. Practicing Gevurah will empower you to harness your willpower, to set boundaries, and to be steadfast in your convictions and what you know to be true. You'll enhance your ability to face difficulties with determination and courage. Rabbi Israel Meir Kagan, who was known as the Chafetz Chaim, said that the person who guards their speech builds real power. So he wasn't talking about muscle strength, obviously. He says that when you watch what you say, you have the power of self-discipline, the knowledge that you have control over your impulses, and you have the inner strength to restrain yourself. You're able to measure your words, and when you do this, you can act in accord with the highest aspect of yourself. On the surface, this seems like a simple teaching, but just think about how many times you've said something you regretted or you reacted too quickly in a given situation. The Chafetz Chaim says that when we think about our speech, when we guard our speech, we build up our inner resources instead of chipping away at our inner core. Gevurah represents this inner strength and resilience. When we're faced with setbacks or difficult situations, we can face them with courage and determination. Our inner strength allows us to persevere and overcome obstacles, and we're faced with multiple challenges every single day. Yet, how often do we react instinctively without really thinking about what will serve us best? And when I say serve us best, it's your highest self. Because our nature is to seek out comfort. And sometimes we do that by justifying ourselves, by rationalizing and engaging in self-talk that doesn't serve our inner self well. Things we would say to ourselves like, oh, don't make a fuss, don't stand out, don't upset the apple cart, just go with the flow, don't make a big deal. Well, in a certain situation, maybe that is what's called for. But in other situations that challenge our inner sense of right and wrong, that self-talk is damaging, and it erodes the sense of ourself and who we truly are. Being comfortable is sometimes not the goal, and Gevurah is the trait that encourages us to go to a different place. Proverbs, Mishle 25, verse 28, there's a teaching about inner strength that really helps us visualize this. A person that has no rule over their own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. If you are that city, when you don't preserve your inner truth, your inner inclination, and when you tend to go with the wind, with voices that don't speak your truth, you're breaching your own wall. You can create a visual here that will help you understand this a little bit better. It can mean setting boundaries. So imagine setting boundaries around what you hold to be truthful, or creating a fence around certain values that are important to you. Having Gevurah means standing up for yourself, and by doing so, you're able to assert your needs and rights while also being mindful of others. And that's important here. It's really your own needs and rights, but you're not going to be trampling on others' needs and rights either. It's about striking a balance between being too passive or too aggressive. Our core values are often challenged, and it takes inner strength every single day not to lose the focus of who you really are and what's really important to you. Making sound judgments and discerning between right and wrong, truth and falsehood, happens sometimes multiple times in a day, and it helps us when we have Gevurah to evaluate situations objectively and make decisions based on reason and fairness. Well, if all that makes sense, how do we begin to nurture our inner resources? How do we get on this path of cultivating our inner strength? The first step is really knowing your own voice. And in order to know your own voice, you have to identify what's truly important to you in your own life. You're the only one who could get back to your center, but you need to know what your true center is. And you could begin by asking yourself questions like, what values are important to you? What drives you? What are you passionate about? How do you see yourself? And the biggest question, in what ways can you elevate yourself to be the person you are truly meant to be? And the bigger question, what are you here to do? And in what ways can you directly impact those around you? These are really difficult questions, but when you begin answering them, you'll start to create fences for what you will and won't do, and how you will and won't act. Knowing the answer to these questions will strengthen your inner resolve, and each time you do that, it will be self-reinforcing. You'll be empowering yourself to have greater mastery over your inner being, and you'll be engaging in the spiritual path of elevating yourself to a different level, to a higher level, every single day. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you will begin answering some of these questions for yourself. And most likely you'll come up with other questions of your own that have even more meaning for you. I hope that you'll be continuing to engage in the spiritual path of engagement with the deeper meaning that Judaism has for you. I would love it if you've subscribed to this podcast and follow so it can be shared with even more people. And encourage others to listen as well. Wishing you a glorious day and the ability to make this day better than yesterday.